Playing with Power MTG. Powerful cards, powerful formats.
Selling Magic cards can be a pain. Sorting, pricing, shipping, and all that hassle. That's where CardConduit.com comes in. They make it super easy to turn your collection into cash without all of the work. Here's how it works. You just send them your cards and they do the rest. They sort, grade, list, and sell all your cards for you. You don't need to worry about fees, market trends, or dealing with buyers. You get the value of your collection fast, fair, and hassle-free. And the best part? Card Conduit gives you the most cash back compared to other services, with transparent fees so you know exactly what you're getting. Whether it's a big binder of bulk rares or a carefully curated collection, Card Conduit takes care of it. Their buy list prices are great too. Just check out this card. So if you're ready to spend less time selling and more time playing, check out CardConduit.com. And if you use my link in the description or use the promo code POWER at checkout, you'll even get a discount on your first order. A big thanks to Card Conduit for sponsoring today's video.
Think you've got what it takes to compete at the highest level of CEDH? Join Mox Masters, where the best players battle it out every week and every month. Jump into our weekly tournaments for fast-paced competition. Climb the ladder in our free-to-play monthly leagues. And test your skills in the massive monthly tournaments for glory and big prizes. Whether you're sharpening your skills or proving you're the best, Mox Masters is the place to play. Sign up now and let's see if you can master the format. Now, let's start out by showcasing our fighters this evening. First, we have Matt from Lemora's Cards, piloting Tivit, Seller of Secrets. This deck seeks to slow down the game or grind advantage over its opponents. It then wins by comboing Tivit with Time Sieve to take infinite turns. Next, we have Kyle, piloting the partner pair of Tymna the Weaver and Kraum Ludovic's Opus. This is a mid-range deck that just oozes advantage. It draws tons of cards with its commanders before winning with Underworld Breach or Thassa's Oracle combos. After that, we have Jay, also known as Defcat MTG, piloting Najeela the Blade Blossom. This is a mid-range deck that pressures opponents' life totals through the use of its commander. It then wins through infinite combats with Derevi or Grim Hireling. Finally, we have Pearson, piloting the partner pair of Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator and Vial Smasher the Fierce. This deck seeks to create a lot of treasures. It then wins with Malcolm and Glinthorn Buccaneer to deal infinite damage. This video would not be possible without all the support of all of our sponsors, including viewers like you on Patreon. If you want to support this content, be sure to check out the links below. You can also support us for free by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and letting us know why Tymna and Kraum should be banned from the format. Without further ado, let's kick off this crazy calamity of cosmic competition. Matt sang the best karaoke and gets to start us off. But Jay has a pre-game action, putting Gemstone Caverns onto the battlefield, exiling a Bayou. Matt draws a card for turn and plays a Flooded Strand. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Tundra onto the battlefield. He casts a Soul Ring and passes the turn. Kyle draws and plays a Bloodstained Mire. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Volcanic Island onto the battlefield. He casts Mystic Remora, then ships the turn to Pearson. Pearson draws and plays a Watery Grave, into play untapped, paying 2 life. He casts a Soul Ring of his own. Mystic Remora triggers, and in response, Jay exiles Elvish Spirit Guide from his hand, adding a green. He flashes in a turn 0 Orcish Bowmasters. It enters, pings Kyle, and Jay amasses Orcs 1. Remora's trigger resolves and Kyle draws. Bowmasters triggers, Jay pings Kyle and amasses 1. Then Soul Ring resolves. Next, Pearson casts a Talisman of Creativity. Remora triggers, Kyle draws, Bowmasters triggers, pings Pearson, and Jay amasses 1. Talisman resolves, and Pearson ends his turn. Jay draws and plays an Ancient Tomb. He taps it and exiles Simian Spirit Guide from his hand, adding a red. He casts his commander, Najeela the Blade Blossom. He casts Mystic Remora. Kyle's Remora triggers and he draws. Bowmasters triggers, Jay pings Pearson and amasses 1. Jay's Remora resolves and he moves to combat. He attacks Pearson with Bowmasters and Kyle with the army. Both players take it and Jay ships the turn. Matt draws and plays a Watery Grave, into play untapped, paying 2 life. He casts a Rhystic Study, triggering both Remoras. Kyle and Jay draw, Bowmasters triggers, pings Pearson, and Jay amasses 1. Matt passes to Kyle. During its upkeep, Kyle pays to keep his Remora. He draws and plays an Exotic Orchard. He gives the turn to Pearson. Pearson draws and plays an Undercity Sewers. It enters and he surveils a City of Traders into his graveyard. He casts his commander, Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator, paying for Rhystic. He passes. During his upkeep, Jay pays to keep his Remora. He draws and plays a Command Tower. He moves to combat and attacks Matt with Bowmasters and Najeela, and Kyle with the army. Najeela triggers and Jay creates a warrior tapped and attacking Matt. Matt and Kyle take the hit, and Jay ships the turn. Matt draws and pays 2 life to help cast Phyrexian Metamorph. The table knows what this is going to enter as a copy of, which is Jay's Bowmasters. Jay wants to make a deal saying that they can control the table if they let each other's Bowmasters live. Matt agrees, and Metamorph resolves. It enters as a copy of Bowmasters. It triggers, and the table discusses what they should deal with on the board. The table agrees that Malcolm is the biggest threat, so Matt pings Pearson and amasses 1. He gives the turn to Kyle. At the end of Matt's turn, Kyle casts Path to Exile, targeting Jay's Bowmasters. Mystic and Rhystic trigger, Jay draws, Matt Bowmasters triggers, pings Malcolm, and Matt amasses 1. Then Matt draws, Jay's Bowmasters triggers, pings Malcolm, killing it, and Jay amasses 1. With Path still on the stack, Jay taps Ancient Tomb to help cast Snap, targeting his Bowmasters. Remora and Rhystic trigger, Kyle draws, both Bowmasters triggers, Matt and Jay each ping Pearson and amass 1. Then Matt draws through Rhystic, Snap resolves, bouncing Bowmaster, and Jay untaps 2 lands. Then Path to Exile fizzles, and the turn moves to Kyle. During its upkeep, Kyle pays to keep his Remora. He draws, plays an Underground Sea, and passes. Pearson draws and taps his Talisman to help cast a Mayhem Devil. Rhystic triggers, and in response, Jay flashes in his Orcish Bowmasters. Rhystic triggers, and Matt draws. Bowmasters enters, pings Pearson, and Jay amasses 1. Pearson then pays for Rhystic, Mayhem Devil resolves, and Pearson ships the turn. During its upkeep, Jay taps his Ancient Tomb to help pay for his Remora. He draws and casts Derevi, Imperial Tactician. Rhystic triggers, Matt draws, Bowmasters triggers, pings Pearson, and Jay amasses 1. Derevi enters, targeting Command Tower. In response, Matt casts Swords to Plowshares, targeting Derevi. Both Remoras trigger. Kyle draws, both Bowmasters triggers, Jay and Matt each ping Pearson and amass 1. Then Jay draws through Remora and Matt's Bowmasters triggers. He pings Kyle and amasses 1 as well. With no other responses, Swords exiles Derevi and Jay gains 2 life. Jay moves to combat and attacks Pearson with the army and Kyle with everything else. Najeela triggers twice, and Jay creates 2 warriors tapped and attacking Kyle. Pearson and Kyle take it all, and Jay passes to Matt. Matt draws and casts an Arcane Signet. Both Remoras trigger, Jay draws, Bowmasters triggers, pings Kyle, and Matt amasses. Then Kyle draws, and both Bowmasters trigger. Jay and Matt each ping Kyle and amass 1. Arcane Signet resolves, and Matt gives the turn to Kyle. During his upkeep, Kyle lets his Remora die. Mayhem Devil triggers, pinging Jay's Bowmasters, killing it. He draws and plays a City of Brass. He casts a Ranger Captain of Eos, and Matt draws through Rhystic. Ranger Captain enters, and Kyle fetches up a Mockingbird into his hand. He casts Mockingbird where X equals 0, and Matt draws again. It enters as a warrior. The table scratches their head a bit, and Kyle passes, discarding to hand size. Pearson draws and casts Kite Sail Larcenous, paying for Rhystic. Larcenous enters, turning both armies and Ranger Captain into treasures. He plays a Bloodstained Mire for turn. He cracks it and pays a life. Mayhem Devil triggers, pinging Bowmasters, killing it. He then fetches up a Badlands onto the battlefield. Pearson ships the turn. During his upkeep, Jay taps his Ancient Tomb to keep his Remora. He draws and plays a Windswept Heath. He cracks it and pays a life. Mayhem Devil triggers, pinging one of his warriors, killing it. Jay then fetches up a Scrubland onto the battlefield. He casts Ranger Captain of Eos, and Matt draws through Rhystic. Ranger Captain enters, and Jay fetches up an Esper Sentinel into his hand. He casts Chrome Mox, and Matt draws again. Chrome Mox enters, imprinting Wild Growth. He cracks his army treasure to help cast Esper Sentinel, paying for Rhystic. Mayhem Devil triggers, pinging another warrior, killing it. He moves to combat and attacks Matt with Najeela and a warrior. Najeela triggers twice, and Jay creates 2 warriors attacking Matt. In response, Matt casts Snap, targeting Jay's Ranger Captain. Remora and Esper trigger, and Jay draws 2 cards. Snap bounces Ranger Captain, and Matt untaps 2 lands. Then Matt takes the hit, and Jay passes the turn. At the end of Jay's turn, Matt flashes in an Opposition Agent. Matt draws and plays a Minamo, School at Water's Edge. He sacrifices his army treasure for a black. Mayhem Devil triggers, pinging Opposition Agent. He casts Wishclaw Talisman. Remora and Esper trigger, and Jay draws 2 cards. Matt activates Wishclaw, fetching up a card into his hand and giving Wishclaw to Jay. He casts Thassa's Oracle. Oracle enters, and in response, Matt casts Tainted Pact. Remora triggers, and Jay draws. In response, Kyle casts Mindbreak Trap for its alternate cost, targeting Tainted Pact. Remora, Esper, and Rhystic all trigger. Matt draws, and Jay draws 2. In response, Matt casts Force of Will, paying a life and exiling a blue card, targeting Trap. Remora triggers, and Jay draws again. In response, Kyle casts a Force of Negation, exiling a blue card, targeting Tainted Pact. Remora and Rhystic trigger, and Matt and Jay draw. With no other answers, Force exiles Tainted Pact, Force counters Trap, then Thoracle's trigger resolves. Matt looks at the top 3, puts 1 on top and the rest on bottom. With his win attempt stopped, he gives the turn to Kyle. Kyle draws and casts a Lotus Petal. Remora, Esper, and Rhystic trigger, Matt draws, and Jay draws 2. He casts his commander, Tymna the Weaver, and Matt draws again. He moves to combat and attacks Jay with Mockingbird. Jay takes it, and in his second main phase, Kyle pays a life and draws a card through Tymna. He ships the turn. At the end of Kyle's turn, Pearson flashes in a Malcolm, Alluring Scoundrel. Rhystic triggers, and Matt draws. The turn moves to Pearson. Pearson draws and plays a Cavern of Souls, naming Pirate as it enters. He taps it to help cast his commander, Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator, paying for Rhystic. He moves to combat and attacks Matt with Alluring Scoundrel and Jay with Kitesail Larcenist. Both players take it, Keen-Eyed Navigator triggers twice, and Alluring Scoundrel triggers. He puts a counter on Scoundrel, then draws and discards a Lion's Eye Diamond. He then creates 2 treasures. In his second main phase, he casts Ragavan, Nimble Pilferer. He passes the turn to Jay. Turn his upkeep, Jay's Lemora triggers. In response, he casts Deadly Rollick for its alternate cost, targeting opposition agent. Rhystic triggers and Matt draws. In response, Pearson cracks a treasure for a red. Mayhem Devil triggers, pinging Esper Sentinel, killing it. Pearson casts Fierce Guardianship for its alternate cost, targeting Deadly Rollick. Remora and Rhystic trigger, he pays for Rhystic and Jay draws through Remora. In response, Jay casts a Force of Will, paying a life and exiling a blue card, targeting Fierce. May draws through Rhystic, then Force counters Fierce, and Rollick exiles opposition agent. Then, he finally lets his Remora die, Mayhem Devil triggers, and pings Najeela. He draws and activates Wishclaw, fetching up a card into his hand and giving Wishclaw to Matt. He casts Lotus Petal and Matt draws through Rhystic. He recasts his Ranger Captain of Eos and Matt draws again. In response, Kyle cracks his Lotus Petal for a red. Mayhem Devil triggers, pinging Najeela, killing her. Kyle casts Force of Will, paying a life and exiling a blue card, targeting Ranger Captain. In response, Jay casts Pact of Negation, targeting Force. Rhystic triggers and Matt draws. In response, Kyle casts Red Elemental Blast, targeting Pact of Negation. Rhystic triggers and Matt draws again. In response, Jay pays 2 life to cast Mental Misstep, targeting Red Elemental Blast. Rhystic triggers and Matt draws. Finally stepping in, Matt pays 2 life to cast his own Mental Misstep, targeting Misstep. In response, Jay casts Flusterstorm, with all copies targeting Misstep. In response, Kyle casts Deflecting Swat for its alternate cost, targeting Pact of Negation. Rhystic triggers and Matt draws a card. In response, Jay casts Mindbreak Trap for its alternate cost, targeting all of its opponent's spells. Rhystic triggers and Matt draws again. In response, Matt casts Force of Negation, exiling a blue card, targeting Mindbreak Trap. With nothing else, Force counters and exiles Trap, Swat redirects Pact to Swat itself, Flusterstorm counters Misstep, Misstep counters Blast, Pact of Negation fizzles, and finally, Force of Will counters Ranger Captain. Next, Jay casts Thassa's Oracle. Oracle enters, and in response, Jay cracks his Lotus Petal to help cast a Tainted Pact. Mayhem Devil triggers, pinging Thoracle. In response, Matt casts Mindbreak Trap for its alternate cost, exiling Tainted Pact. After all of that, Jay does the silly little Thoracle Scry thing and gives the turn to Matt. Matt draws and plays Cavern of Souls, naming Human as it enters. He taps it to help cast an uncounterable Grand Abolisher. With no answers left, Abolisher resolves, locking out opponents. Matt casts Mox Diamond, discarding an Exotic Orchard. He casts Dark Ritual, adding 3 black. He casts his commander, Tivit, Seller of Secrets. It enters, and Matt creates 2 treasures and 3 clues. He casts Cyclonic Rift, targeting Mayhem Devil. He casts Time Sieve. He activates Time Sieve, sacrificing his newly created artifacts to get an extra turn. He presents a loop of taking extra turns with Tivit, creating 5 treasures, and sacrificing them to Time Sieve. He does this over and over, spreading out the attacks each turn. Once each player is about to take lethal commander damage, he casts an additional artifact to help pay for the extra artifact costs. He then takes 3 more turns, taking out each player 1 by 1 to commander damage, and Matt wins the game. Ladies and gentlemen, what an amazing game tonight. The most valuable card, sponsored by Luxury Playstyle, goes to Ranger Captain of Eos. This was one of those games where Resolve Ranger Captain basically spelled game over for the table. So much so that the entire table fought with every piece of interaction they could in order to stop it. Multiple Ranger Captains resolved or attempted to resolve this game and bounced back and forth, just showing just how powerful this card can be. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. Tune in next time when we duke it out to see who will be king of the competitive EDH table. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.